Good morning. Today we're interviewing an incredible pilot and philanthropist. We've got Sue Clark in the studio. She's a retired American Eagle Airlines captain. She's got 27,000 hours plus of flight time, and she's also the founder of RV to the Rescue. They also have a program called Kids Can Fly that puts children in the right seat on some of these rescue missions. Welcome, Sue Clark.
Well, thank you very much, Osa, for having me. I love to share our fun times in aviation and helping the kids and the community.
I am so honored to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. You're a pillar in aviation. You do everything you can to give back, inspire people to get into aviation, and you've been working very hard to save the lives of animals, as well as to educate the public on, the importance of spaying and neutering animals to help prevent some of these situations where there are many animals who don't have homes or people just can't afford to keep.
Yeah, that's true. And we like to involve the children in doing volunteer work. So as adults, they will give back to the community. We teach them how to interact with cats or dogs, rather, that they may not be familiar with. And so we have them for the Kids Can Fly. We have a class where they sit in a classroom and they learn how to read the body language of a dog and how to approach an unfamiliar dog so that they don't get bit or they don't abuse the dog that cause the dog to become aggressive. After they attend a half an hour class, we have a dog club that brings in their dogs and they sit on the floor and then they learn and practice what they learned in the class, how to put your hand out, let the dog sniff so that you don't run up and pull on his ears and tail. And then we take them for a flight.
That's amazing. I think I need to take that class because I love animals. I'm not necessarily afraid of dogs, but I respect them as an animal that if you intrude on their space, you can get bit. So I'd love to learn some of that. I think that's something that I'm going to have to dive into as well.
Okay, good. We'll take you along on a couple flights and let you handle the big dogs.
So, Sue, what was it that inspired you to get into aviation in the first place?
Well, I don't really know, except that my father had relayed a story to me that I recalled after he mentioned it. I lived on a farm in eastern Pennsylvania, and behind our farm was a farmer that had a little yellow J3 cub. So I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I used to stand there and watch him do loops and rolls and spins. He worked as a mechanic at the Reading Airport, and he would fly to work. On the weekends, he'd be out playing in his airplane. And I think that may have set the tone because I looked up at my father when he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm watching that airplane." And he said, very seriously, I turned to him and said, "I'm going to do that someday." And I had forgotten that until much later in his life when he relayed that story to me. And then I recalled the conversation.
So you became infatuated with aviation at a very young age.
Yeah, I was 4 or 5 years old at that time.
What about now? If you hear a plane flying overhead, do you still look up?
Oh, absolutely. I live right across the street from the Rio Vista Airport. We always watched the airplanes.
That's amazing. I actually fly in there quite often. I did a lot of my landings, being that I trained here in Concord. That's one of the closest places to go and knock out some landings when the traffic pattern here gets busy.
Do you come over there when it blows 35 knots?
Of course not. No, 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 no. Not in a 172. In a 182, I might think about it because it's far more stable. But in a 172, I'd be terrified.
Yeah, people come there a lot for crosswind landing practice.
It's a great place.
It's a
Awesome
great
little airport.
Yeah.
I've been there for a few events as well. Some of the airport days have been really neat, and that's been awesome to see. The aviation community is awesome like that, where an event will be thrown at an airport and people from 2, 3, 400 miles away will be flying in to have a great time, meet other pilots, and see aircrafts.
Yeah, we were quite honored to have Tim Morgan bring his Vision Jet out a couple years ago for Airport Day. And they had people lined up all day to look in his airplane. That was really cool.
That was neat. I was actually at that event,
Were
and I
you?
do remember I actually went in myself to go check that out. That is a very neat aircraft.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Yeah.
Something very unique. So you did mention that, you forgot you were 4 years old looking up at airplanes that a neighbor was flying, and you kind of moved on with life. At what point did the aviation bug bite you again? You go, you know what? It's time. I want to start flying.
Well, I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19, and the idea was my friends and I were going to get jobs and save our money and go to Europe. Well, we never got to Europe, and I was looking for something fun and exciting to do. I was 19, 20 years old, and I had read the newspaper said $5 introductory flight, Santa Monica Airport. So I go, hey, I have $5. I'm going to go down there and do that. My first real flight was a Boeing 707 from Philadelphia to Los Angeles, and it was pretty exciting. So that's how I got started. I took my $5, gave it to Gunnell Aviation. They take me up over Malibu and out over the ocean and said, here, take the controls. This pull back goes up, push forward, go down. And I thought, well, that's easy enough. I can do that. So I guess the bug really got me that time.
Oh, that is exciting. I bet those views were amazing.
Yes, it was beautiful down there. It was really the beach and the ocean, and it was very nice. Yes.
Oh yeah, what a beautiful part of the country. I'm from SoCal as well, so I spent time down there in Malibu. I haven't yet flown into Santa Monica's airport, but I've flown over Malibu on a cross country I did from here down to San Diego, and it was just wow. So moving forward from there, how long was it after that until you started your training?
Well, as soon as I took that introductory flight, I said, where do I sign? So I started my training. And I was working as a secretary, so I didn't have great income. And I had to start and stop about 3 times. But I continued to study the books and really dig into what I needed to know in order to pass a written test. So that's how it progressed. After about a year and a half, I got my private pilot certificate, and then I realized I couldn't afford to fly. So all my friends, all the fellows were going with 250 hours. They were going to United and Delta and American, and I'm going, I want to fly for the airlines. Well, they weren't hiring women to fly for the airlines at that time.
Really?
No, that was in the 70s. So it was after that the airlines actually did hire women, and they put them in the jump seat of the 737, and they were the third crew member for a long time before they actually allowed the women to move into the right seat and fly the aircraft. So I decided that what I would do is I would go ahead and pursue a career in aviation. So as soon as I had my private, I decided I needed more income. So I went and took the ground instructor written, and I had such good notes from my private pilot ground school that I could teach it. So with the fellows all wanting to get the flight time, nobody really wanted to teach the classes. So I worked 2 and 3 nights a week in addition to a full-time job in Los Angeles teaching ground school. And that's how I earned the money to continue on to get my commercial. At that time, you didn't need an instrument rating. So I went from the commercial to the CFI.
Okay. And then you started teaching as a CFI, teaching flight instruction as well as ground.
Yes, I was located back in Florida and Georgia. I got my CFI in Florida, and then I was married at the time, and we were assigned to Georgia, and that's where I had my first flight instructing job at Stone Mountain, which airport, which I don't think is even there anymore.
That's the struggle with GA, huh? Airports kind of come and
Yeah, they
go.
come and go.
Right. I think they're trying to close Reed Hillview in the near future.
Well, yes. And Santa Monica, they've been trying to close that for many, many years. And I think now the FAA will allow them to close it in the near future.
Oh, that's terrible. That's a blow. Get out there and support your GA.
Absolutely.
Your GA airports. They're more than just, a place to go and visit and fly into for lunch. Children in the local areas like to go by and, look up and watch planes land. I know at my airport here in Concord, they've got a whole little area set up with like a jungle gym and stuff for children, and they'll stand right there at the gate and watch planes fly in and land on 19 right.
Yeah, that's very impressive, and more airports need to provide that type of atmosphere for the young people to watch the aircraft.
Yeah, I wish when I was a child, I had some exposure into aviation. I always thought it was neat, but you don't have anybody around you that's doing it. You don't know anybody that does it. You just think it's so far fetched and kind of out of reach.
Right. And that's one of the things that I've discovered where I live in the little town that I'm at. Not all the children's parents can afford to send them to college. So, through our rescue organization and flights, we are able to allow young children and their parents to go on rescue flights and see what it's like to fly in a small aircraft. And for some of the kids, it's the first time they've ever even been in an airplane. So, we always enjoy doing that for the community.
That's great. How rewarding. What a neat way to give back to the community and enrich the experiences of young people.
Absolutely. They're our future. So we need to invest in them and make sure that they continue to, contribute to society in a very positive way.
Definitely. So moving forward a little bit into your career, after working as a CFI down, you said in Florida and Georgia, what was next? How was it that you made your way to flying?
Well, we were actually stationed in San Diego, and I worked for a flight school in San Diego for a couple years. Then I opened my own flight school. I had people come to me and say, "Hey, you're a flight instructor. How about using my aircraft?" So I said, "Okay, I'll do that." I had a flight school called Scarf and Goggles Pilot Center, and we had maybe 4 or 5 full-time flight instructors. We had 12 aircraft. And so that's how I kind of got started in the FBO business. From there, the FAA at that time, they didn't have very many. I probably may have been one of the first few women designated pilot examiners. So this was in the mid 70s, and the FAA asked me if I would consider being a pilot examiner, and I said yes, I would. So I did that while I was in San Diego. Now the airlines are starting to open up and hire women. And now I'm, in my 30s, and I'm thinking maybe I will try and get hired by the airlines again. So I needed multi engine time. And everybody who left San Diego, they were all getting great jobs, great flying jobs. So I said, I might have to leave San Diego area. So a chief pilot position came available in Concord, and I applied for that, and I was a chief instructor and chief pilot. So that afforded me the opportunity to get my multi-engine time. I flew there for 6 years, and then the federal government deregulated and they stopped subsidizing the major airlines. And so in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, all these commuter airlines popped up. And so the commuter airlines were code sharing with the major airlines. So we would go out to the outlying airports, bring the passengers back to American Terminal, and then they'd get on a big airplane and fly to the East Coast or Chicago or Dallas or international. So I applied to Wings West, which was a code share partner for American Airlines, and was hired by them. At that time, I already had 6,000 hours of flight experience.
Wow.
Thinking I'm going to go into the Queen Air, and they put me in the Metroliner, which was quite a big jump because it's a big, heavy aircraft, and you don't have to be real strong, but you have to make good decisions, and you have to make them fairly quickly to fly that airplane. And it was a 1950s design. So that's how I got started into American Eagle, and I finished out my retirement with them.
So throughout that process, did you fly different airplanes throughout your time flying? What would you say was your favorite that you flew for them?
Well, the last one was a favorite, this Saab 340, because we had an autopilot.
Okay.
I'm type rated in 3 aircraft. First was the Metroliner, and then it was the British Aerospace Jetstream, and then it was the Saab 340. So at that time, they had mostly turboprops, and so I was type rated in the 3 turboprops. I liked the Saab 340. It was comfortable. I didn't have to carry cushions anymore. I actually had to carry cushions when I flew the Metroliner because I was short and I need to get closer to the rudder pedals to control the aircraft in single engine operations. So the company actually even made some cushions for me out of the airplane seat fabric. So it was pretty cool.
That's great that they facilitated that for
Yeah.
you. You must have been well liked.
Well, they took good care of me. I have no complaints. It was a good company to work for.
Before moving into the captain seat, how long did you spend as a first officer?
3 months.
Wow, that's a fast jump.
I wanted to stay in the right seat actually longer because I was, it was, I didn't have all the responsibility.
Right.
But at that time, you could only pass it up one time. If you turned it down the second time, you were out of a job. So when they proposed the upgrade to me, one of the senior captains said, "Go ahead, Sue, and go ahead and accept the upgrade." And I said, "Okay, I'll do that." So that's what I did.
Awesome. So how different is the role again? I just got into general aviation. I'm thinking now about flying, corporate jets and moving up. How different are the roles and responsibilities being in right seat versus the left?
Well, we started out at Part 135. So the pilot did everything. They did all the planning, they did all the fuel, all the alternate calculations. So the pilot, pretty much the crew, the pilot and first officer, they had to do all the planning. The good thing was, after I was at Wings West for a year, American purchased all their American Eagles, and then they put us under Part 121. And now, instead of us having to sit there and look at weather and determine alternates and calculate fuel, we had to be in the airplane and they handed us the paperwork, and then we had to verify that it was correct. So that was a big jump for us that had to do all our own planning. And it took away the responsibility of focusing on the planning and allowed us to focus on the flying. And so that was, I think we all appreciated being under the umbrella of 121.
Oh, that's great. It definitely made things a little bit more fun.
Yeah, a lot more fun.
So you're telling me that if I start flying professionally, I don't have to do all my cross-country planning like I do now?
Well, you still have to plan and know what you're doing, but yes, you still have to do all the steps. And, you're so automated that you really need to know the basics and go back to raw data, planning, and flying. And that makes you a well-rounded pilot.
Perfect. So, being that we've talked about your professional career, for anybody out there that wants to get into aviation and fly professionally, what advice would you give them?
Well, the first thing, obviously, is to get started. Okay. And to get started, you go out to the airport. You can join EAA, Experimental Aircraft Association. You can attend the 99s, which is a women's flying organization. And you can start looking for scholarships. So if you take the initiative to start your flight training or start your ground school, when I was learning to fly, those scholarships weren't readily available. And now the 99s alone, they've given out millions of dollars of scholarships because they're getting legacy donations. So to get started, go to the airport, meet pilots, talk to everyone you can, network as much as you can. When our kids come to me and they say, "Hey, I want to fly," I put them with other pilots in as many different types of airplanes that I can find for them to sit in the right seat and see what the different airplanes look like. And so that's a good way to get started. The other way, I have a lot of, not a lot, but I have seniors who come to me. I just had one this morning, high school seniors. They have projects that they need to do, volunteer projects for credits. So I was contacted, and this young girl here in Concord area, she needs to donate or volunteer 5 hours of her time. And she wanted to get involved. She has a private pilot certificate at age 17.
Oh, She's incredible.
I know, yes. So she needs to do 5 hours of volunteer work. I said, okay, we will put you on a 5-hour rescue flight or 2.5-hour rescue flights, and you can volunteer to help with the flying, and you can volunteer to help with the loading and unloading of the pets, and you can volunteer to help clean up the hangar.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Not only did she get to fly an airplane, make a difference in the life of an animal, but she also got her objective of getting her volunteer work in.
Yeah, we had one fellow who did a project for his high school project around Christmas time several years ago. And what he did is he went to his friends, he went to all the pet stores, and he accumulated 800 pounds of donated collars, leashes, dog food, beds, crates, you name it. And we made 3 trips to the Central Valley to drop off his donations that he collected from various people and organizations. And that was pretty awesome.
That's a great way to give back. A great story and example of a young person going above and beyond to give back and help change the lives of not only the animals, right? Because these animals are given homes with people who love them and treat them, become a part of their family. And that's amazing. And it enriches more than just one life.
Yes, and the kids really eat it up. They want to have things to do. We're trying to get them away from the cell phones and the gaming. Not that gaming is bad, but we try and get that out there and active. And this hits the mark for a lot of the young people. In my community where I live, which is a retirement community, we also give back to the seniors. I get a lot of people where I live who come to me and they'll say, my kids are grown, they're out doing their own thing. My husband passed away and I'm lonely. Can you help me find a pet? Well, there's 500 non-kill nonprofits in California alone. So we transport from high-kill animal shelters to non-high-kill rescue organizations, adopters, or foster homes. So when someone comes to me and they want that help, we will provide the transportation free of charge to them because they support our organization so well. And it's very heartwarming to go down the street and have someone give you a hug because you helped them find a dog, and they are so appreciative that they have something to share their life with and a reason to continue on.
For those who don't know, can we say the name of your organization one more time?
It's RV, the number 2, therescue.com. Even though it's a .com, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. RV stands for Ria Vista, to therescue.com.
Okay, perfect. In the beginning, the first time I saw it, I was thinking RV, like vans, like small
everybody,
airplane, which is hilarious,
figures it's
right?
an airplane. And then they see my Piper Archer and they go, that's not an RV.
Right. I had so many questions, so I'm glad they're now
But we
being
do
answered.
have an RV also. We have a Winnebago Travato. But that doesn't belong to the rescue. That belongs to Aviation Partners Incorporated, who also owns the airplane that we fly.
Okay. Wonderful. Archer, huh? I've been flying a Piper Archer lately. Love the aircraft. Extremely stable. Wonderful. My flying club has one. I think it's quickly becoming my favorite airplane that I've flown so far.
We purchased that airplane 25 years ago, and it's still flying great. So we like that aircraft.
So how did you get the idea to start RV to the Rescue?
Well, I was flying for the Travis Aero Club for about 11 years, and I started with them when I was age 60. So now I'm 71, and I'm thinking it's time for the young people to teach at the Aero Club, but I wanted to stay active in aviation, and I wanted to have a purpose. And besides giving back to the community. And being that I was raised on a farm, I was always around animals. My father collected all kinds of animals. So a friend of mine had introduced me to an organization called Pilots and Paws. And I flew on my own resources for Pilots and Paws for 3 or 4 years. Then the people in Ria Vista, when they found out what I was doing, they said, we want to support your organization, but we want a tax write-off. So I said, okay, I'll set up a nonprofit. So that's kind of how I got started. I wanted to do something for the animals and the community. So that's how I made the transition. And I formed a nonprofit because I was asked to form it.
How did that evolve from where it was when you started to where it is now?
Well, some of the people who volunteered said, Sue, you need a website. And I said, I don't have the expertise to do a website. They said, well, then you need volunteers. So I said, okay. And once the word filtered out and we got a webmaster who is also a neighbor and a pilot, and he handles the website for us, and he's worth his weight in gold. So from that, the organization really started to grow with volunteers, not just in Rio Vista, but volunteers throughout the state of California. And then we have Facebook. We have a lot of transport organizations on Facebook. We have California Transport, which is active in every single state in the United States. So little by little, the word on the internet got out through Facebook, and people started calling me. And now a lot of the rescues, if they have a really urgent situation, they'll send me a text in the middle of the night. And I get up in the morning and go, Fido was hit by a car, needs to go to UC Davis. We need somebody as soon as we can. Most of our pilots work. They're employed. They can't all fly during the day, during the week. But some of them are retired and they can fly. So we maintain a list of people we know that we can contact if we have we're almost like an EMT for animals.
Right. It's like a 911. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we have a list of pilots who say, call us anytime, call or email or text or whatever. So that's how we try to accommodate the emergency or urgent situations to move the animals from the shelters. If you have a dog that has puppies, our shelters are not equipped. First, they're underfunded. They're not equipped to deal with puppies. Some of the shelters have no air conditioning. They have no heating. They're just a cement slab with some fencing. When the puppies come in, if they can't find them a foster or volunteer nearby, they euthanize all of them right away. They let the puppies be born and then they euthanize them. So, but we have great people on the ground in the different cities who evaluate the animals and let us know which ones are suitable for adoption and which aren't. So that helps.
So it's been a whole bunch of networking between getting pilots to help with transportation. Then you said you've got people on the ground kind of all over who will give you information on the animals and say this is suitable for that. And then you have folks coming to you on the other end, on the adoption end, saying, hey, I'm looking for a pet. How can you help? So you've kind of got contacts in every single facet or phase of the rescue process.
Yeah, we do the fun part. We do the flying. They do the heavy lifting. They're at the shelters when people come in to surrender their dogs or cats. The people behind the scenes are the ones that really deserve the credit because they work so hard day and night to do what they do. And we try to help them as much as we can. For example, I had a call a couple weeks ago where they needed to get Maggie from Milpitas to Oklahoma. And I said, what's the story behind Maggie? Well, apparently what had happened is there was a storm in Keokuk, Oklahoma, and these people's door went open and Maggie got out. And they thought, well, the neighbor picked her up and took her home and they'll get her in the morning. Well, Maggie is gone now and nobody knows where Maggie is. She walks into a Bevmo store in Milpitas 2.5 months later. People walk in behind and said, whose dog is that? And nobody claimed the dog. So they fed it. It was hungry. It was scruffy looking. Come to find out, nobody knew who the dog belonged to, so this couple took the dog home and had it scanned for a chip. and the chip took them back to the family that owned the dog in Oklahoma. So this was put out on the Facebook to help get Maggie home. So I was selected, RV to the Rescue was selected to assist with the transport. So I had one of my 12-year-old volunteers, first we went and got Maggie, and then she had to go get a rabies shot for transport. So we have a 5-year-old or 12-year-old who goes along, and he's a puppy attendant while we take Maggie to get her rabies shot. Then we thought we had it figured out that we would put her on a volunteer group through the airlines, Southwest, Delta. They have volunteers who fly the pets in the cabin for free.
Oh, wow.
So we decided that we would go ahead and get her registered and send her back to Oklahoma City with one of the airlines. Well, come to find out, she's too long and she weighs too much. She weighed 29 pounds and the limit is 20. And the crate is 25 inches. She was 29 inches long. So that, then we had to go to Plan B. And Plan B was to do a relay flight with pilots and PAWs using 3 pilots to go cross country. Well, then we had storms and bad weather over Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, and Oklahoma and Texas. So Plan 2 didn't work. Then we said, okay, there's a ground transport leaving Los Angeles, and now the fires popped up. Fortunately, we had an Orange County pilot with a Cirrus who said he will fly up and pick up Maggie, fly her back to Camarillo so that she can make the ground transport that's driving a load of van full of, these aren't fire dogs that they picked up. These are animals that were in the shelters that they're trying to clear out to make room for the ones that they're finding through the fires.
Okay.
So, as luck would have it, you being a pilot, you'll appreciate this. Friday morning, I get a text from Murdy who says, I can't land at Rio Vista. You're below minimums. Well, I live across the street from the airport. And I said, well, sometimes our weather reporting system is inaccurate. So I look outside. He's got at least 2 miles visibility. There is no ceiling. So I texted him back and said, shoot the approach. You will be able to see the airport and land. So that's what he did. And she had to be in Camarillo before 12 noon. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to delay his departure. So thanks to Murdy and his expertise in flying, he got her down to Camarillo to meet the ground transport. The family was so excited to have her back. I have all kinds of pictures that they sent me to get their Maggie back after 2.5 months. So we like to do those sorts of things to help others as well.
That's very interesting and kind of amazing. The dog somehow made its way halfway across the country to be found in a BevMo, to then have 3 different attempts to get it back to its home, hit by size, weather, and just things not lining up, to finally, a pilot from down in Southern California said, hey, I'd be happy to come up and help. Again, weather briefing says it's not really possible. He's probably close by at that point. You tell him, no problem. I can see the airport. You'll be fine. We're good to go. And now Maggie's back home with her family that had lost her after the storm after 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
Oh, wow.
And we know she didn't walk back there because she walks with a limp. So either somebody took her back there. Mm-hmm. I don't think she was a stowaway on a
train or something.
Yeah. So.
That's truly incredible. So how is it that pilots or people watching, how can someone get involved, because you guys transport or you organize transport for pets in more ways than just flying, correct? So flying, driving, or people can come up and volunteer and learn about the animals and help with kind of like the packaging as well.
Well, most people, they'll go to our website, RV, the number two, therescue.com, and they can sign up to be a volunteer there. They can join Facebook groups where there are ground transporters that do relays. They prefer, if you're going to be on a Facebook ground transport group, they usually prefer that you do an hour, 2 hour drive. Some of them don't mind if we fly them, and others say this particular dog is not a good candidate to fly. So, but there's lots of organizations that do transport. So they can research those on the internet. They can sign up for Pilots and Paws, or they can go to our website and say, hey, I'd like to fly. We pretty much will coordinate with adjoining states. We don't, Pilots and Paws, they'll handle the far distant airports and cities, and they go into Canada as well.
Oh, wow.
So it's hard for us to coordinate something in New York or New Jersey. They can coordinate the long distance easier than we can. Our light aircraft typically, we're going to fly 200 or 300 miles and hand off to another pilot. They may fly 200 or 300 miles. Some of the pilots have large aircraft and they'll go long distance. Right now, we're hoping to send an aircraft over to Salt Lake and back to pick up a dog that's being adopted in Vacaville. The Cirrus pilots, they go pretty fast, and they oftentimes will fly further, or people with faster aircraft.
Right.
There are charter corporations. I'm not going to mention any names, but on deadhead flights, there may be one or two of them that will actually carry a rescue if it's crated. But you need to seek them out, and they only do that on deadhead flights where they don't have passengers.
Okay.
So that's starting to come about with some of the charter companies.
Moving forward, what are your plans for the organization for this year? What is happening?
Well, I guess pretty much we want to do more of the same. We want to give back to the community. We want to help aspiring young pilots or older pilots. We have older people who going for a flight is on their bucket list. So I guess we really want to do more of the same. It would be nicer to have a bigger, faster airplane, but then that requires more responsibility and more people.
Oh, yeah.
So we're pretty well set with our current goals. And of course, welcoming volunteers, they're always needed, especially on the administrative side. Everybody wants to fly, nobody wants to do bookwork, including myself.
That sounds like a pilot, doesn't it? Everybody wants to fly, nobody wants to do bookwork.
Yeah.
That's the exact reason why I took a nice long break after getting my pilot before thinking about moving forward to instrument. I was like, I've been studying nonstop. I just want to fly and have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, you have to enjoy the work along the way, but you have to also have some fun doing what you're doing. And congratulations on you and jumping into the flying and pursuing your dream too, even though you have a very good job saving lives as well. So
thank you. I have an amazing career that I love, that I'm not planning on leaving, wouldn't leave for anything, but I would also really think it'd be neat to fly corporate jets. Do something like that, because everybody wants to fly something bigger and faster. And I think that would be an amazing opportunity and a way to do so kind of in my off days. With my current job, I work about 9 to 12 days a month, and it's 24-hour shifts. So the other 19-ish days, I'm off, which means I'm in here tinkering with the camera, I'm flying to lunch with a friend, or
we'll put you to work.
So we'll do it. I'd love to get involved with the organization. And I'm definitely going to reach out with you offline. I know when we talked recently on Facebook, you mentioned you were trying to set up an event at the Rio Vista Airport.
Well, we're always trying to promote our airport because general aviation airports are really suffering. They have limited funding. They receive grant monies from the FAA, but, we need to do a little bit more to help promote our airports and make sure that we stay healthy and profitable. So we're always looking for opportunities to bring people to Rio Vista and have them go downtown to eat or shop, and all the cities are struggling with their airports. So it's really important that pilots get out there and support their airports.
Right. You guys also have great fuel prices, especially compared to where we are here in Concord. Ours are $7.70 or so a gallon. Around where are you guys at Rio Vista?
$5.39 a gallon.
$5.39. If you're a Bay Area pilot, this is the place to get fuel.
And if you need a ride downtown, call me.
See? If you need a ride downtown, Sue is going to be happy to pick you up and show you around. I'm going to take you up on that offer.
All right.
I'll be coming to Rio Vista very soon.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Sue. So next is the rapid fire round, where it's just a few questions. You just say the first thing that comes to your mind. You don't have to explain it, just the first thing that comes to your mind. I promise it's not going to be anything too crazy.
Could be dangerous.
We're pilots. It's always dangerous. So your dream cockpit, if you could fly any plane, past, present, or experimental, which would it be?
P-51 Mustang.
Ooh, I think I'm with you on that one. What a beautiful aircraft. So must-have gear. What's the one piece of aviation-related tech or gear that you absolutely can't live without?
A good headset, a noise-canceling headset.
I'm the same. I love it. The faster the aircraft or the bigger the engine, the louder. I just started flying a 182 RG. I'm finishing that checkout now. And if I don't turn my noise canceling on, I can't even hear myself think. It's a very loud aircraft. So snack attack. What's your go-to in-flight snack that keeps you fueled and happy on a long cross country?
Probably peanut butter crackers.
Okay. I have a peanut allergy, so I won't be indulging in that one. Diners and diaries. Which airport or restaurant would you drop everything to fly to for a meal?
Harris Ranch.
Ooh, I've done that one. Beautiful. And that little runway is about this wide.
Yeah.
30 feet wide. What is your favorite sound? Is it the roar of takeoff, the hum of cruise, or the chirps of the wheels kissing the runway?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Favorite sound. Well, I think I did some powder puff racing, so doing a racing flyby is probably one of my favorite sounds.
Wow. I don't even know what that sounds like. I'll have to look that up myself.
It's full throttle.
Ooh. What's the best advice you'd give to a new pilot or someone who's considering starting the journey?
Take the initiative to talk to people, ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and never let go of your dreams. Always have a goal and go after those dreams, and you will accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Landing playlist. If you could pick one song to play every time you buttered a landing, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. Buttered a landing. You mean a squeaker?
Oh, yep. That's the new term that everybody's using. When you put it down on the runway,
I'm not in with
and it's super
English.
Smooth. They say you buttered it like a knife through butter, right? Super smooth.
Okay, well, maybe Top Gun.
Okay, to go along with that P-51. All right. Thank you so much for coming, Sue, and thank you for all the work you've been doing on inspiring new pilots and young people to get into aviation, as well as the work you've been doing to save the lives of animals. To all of you out there, make sure you get involved, reach out. There are many ways to fly and give back, whether that's giving back to young people or helping save the lives of animals. There are many relay flights and many legs that are available to pick up out there. Will you please remind listeners where they can learn more about your organization and how to get involved?
Yes, you can go to the website RV2therescue.com. That's Romeo Victor 2 therescue.com, and there is a volunteer button, so you can volunteer to help in any fashion. We always appreciate having volunteers.
Wonderful.
And thank you so much for having me and listening to my stories.
Thank you so much. Your stories have been inspirational. How many flight hours do you have now, give or take?
Well, I stopped logging at about 20,000, so probably about 27,000, because that was 20 years ago.
Wow. If I ever get to that, I'll feel quite accomplished and I'll feel, like the sky's my backyard.
We're still learning.
That's it. A good pilot is always learning. Make sure you tune into our next episode. We're actually going to pivot Instead of interviewing somebody with 27,000 hours, we're going to interview a student pilot who's very close to his private pilot check ride. His name is Ali, and he's from Southern California, flying out of Santa Ana Airport. So we're going to hear about his story, his journey, his struggles, what got him into aviation, and it's sure to be a very impactful one. And it's definitely going to be motivational for all you new and student pilots out there. May there always be wind beneath your wings. Peace.